a top-secret Canadian regiment deployed to the most dangerous places on Earth.
They really hated us with a passion.
Bring their skills to a new front in the war on terror.
We want to be here well before they escalate in hopes that they don't escalate.
The heart of the new terrorism spreading across the Sahara.
Mercedes Stevenson.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how hard was that training?
I'd say 11, really.
Embedded with an elite fighting force.
This is the baseline for what we do.
Our toughest warriors.
They test you thoroughly, mentally and physically.
And the dedication that makes them heroes.
We're actually serving our country.
And
to Daddy, I miss you and I love you.
the invisible victims
The children have done nothing wrong.
of Canada's prisons.
These children are innocent but become victims.
How families find help and hope.
To actually be able to touch them and hug them and kiss them, it's big.
The goal of the FEET program is to keep that family connection throughout incarceration.
Beverly Thompson,
There's still a stigma. Still got a family, still a person.
with a father's newfound purpose
You're not only helping families, but theoretically you're helping society.
and one woman's dedication
You okay? Yeah?
to help forgotten children.
What is it about the kids?
They just touch your heart, right? They have done nothing wrong and they need us.
Here is Lloyd Robertson.
Welcome to W5. SEAL teams, Delta Force, Spetsnaz, SAS, SBS, the names of elite teams of commandos, British, American, Russian, who carry out special missions, usually behind enemy lines. Well, here's another. CSOR. It stands for Canadian Special Operations Regiment. Never heard of them? That's not surprising, because CSOR is ultra secret. Its missions classified. Until now. For the first time, these Canadian commandos are opening up, inviting W5 to watch them train and to hear their stories. What we found is a team that's among the best in the world, deployed to hotspots like Afghanistan, Belize, Libya, small teams working in the shadows. They are Canada's secret warriors, and now they're in the fight against terrorists in Africa, which is where Mercedes Stevenson found them, deep in the desert.
Under a scorching African sun in the middle of the Sahara Desert, an elite team of secret Canadian commandos gets ready for action. These are the troops Canada sends into the toughest missions, to take out high-value targets, to rescue Canadians, to go where no one else dares. Their official name, the Canadian Special Operations Regiment, CSOR. The team leader, Jordan, 30 years old, a career soldier.
There's TV cameras everywhere, and they're probably going to look at your target, so don't miss. New rule, no missing.
They make it look effortless, but to move, shoot, reload, and shoot again with that kind of speed and precision is a skill that takes years to perfect.
This is the baseline for what we do. Everything else gets bolted on, but this is the first thing that we need to be proficient at, be safe and accurate and efficient with our weapon systems.
How long did it take you to master this?
Me personally? It took a little while.
But these secret soldiers aren't training for a regular war. They work in the shadows, covertly, in small teams. Deployed all over the world, these Canadians can fight on land, air, or sea. This promotional video is the only time they've ever been seen, until now.
You engage in very dangerous situations. When you are shooting your firearm in real life, what's going through your head?
That's part of why we do these drills, is to make sure it is second nature, and we don't have to think about it, because if you have to think about your shooting, you're not thinking about the enemy shooting back at you.
At 34, Steve, a corporal, is already one of the oldest on this team.
Steve, why did you join the Canadian Forces?
I saw it as a challenge, and I've always dreamt of it when I was a little guy, about being in the Army. Oh, zero.
It's a long way from the degree in fashion marketing he got before joining CSOR.
After my tour in Afghanistan, I came back and I decided that I was gonna give it a shot. A lot of people think of the Special Forces community as these muscle-bound, super jocks that go running around and think they're better than everyone else. But in reality, we're pretty much you know, regular dudes that just hang out, you know, go do our job. It's just our job is slightly different. That's all it is.
Slightly different? Try dangerous and shrouded in secrecy. We can't show you these operators without their sunglasses or hats, and we can't tell you their last names. This security extends right up to the unmarked helicopters they use to fly them in and out of remote and dangerous locations.
Start from the back, we have our right side door gunner who's in charge of the GAU 21 50 caliber machine gun.
The 35-year-old pilot, Jamie, a captain, shows us around his Griffin.
Sorry, what would you use this gun for? Because these bullets, if we can get a shot of them, are massive. Like, they are the size of my hand.
They're self-defense. It's for self-defense out here, so we'll employ it for self-defense reasons.
What kind of scenario would you need to use self-defense in?
If someone's shooting at us, if someone is engaging us with a type of weapon system, we can use self-defense in that scenario.
Sounds vague. Truth is, Jamie can't tell us when, where, or if he's ever used these weapons. CSOR's missions are classified. What we can tell you, in Afghanistan, these were the men sent on covert operations against the Taliban.
Is it hard to explain what you do to your friends or your parents?
You can't just go to your friend who works in an office 9 to 5 and say, yeah, well, I'm going to be gone for a couple months and I'll catch up with you later. And then he asks questions and you're, well, I can't really say exactly what I'm doing. And so it makes it awkward.
So what does it take to join one of the most elite military regiments in the world? Lieutenant Colonel Hank Celeste is CSOR's commanding officer, and one of the few we don't have to disguise.
Within the military, we're very much a performance-oriented culture, and it's always that fear of failure that prevents a lot of guys from just, you know, taking that chance and stepping forward. So I always tell the guys that is the biggest criteria for success, is just taking that step forward and applying.
Details about the selection process for those wanting to join are classified, but the operators confirm it's grueling. Weeks of pure hell.
On a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is really easy and 10 is extremely difficult, how hard was that training?
Oh, well, I'm gonna make myself sound really good about this. So yeah, it's I'd say 11, really. Yeah, it's an 11. It's really hard. I personally wanted to succeed this, so there was no way of me quitting. So it's that kind of attitude you have to go in with it, and you also have to be fairly intelligent. They test you thoroughly, mentally and physically.
Is there a certain kind of person that is most likely to get selected?
You know, you've got type A personalities who are hugely invested in their jobs, and they just want to knock it out of the park, right?
So why are they here in the middle of the Sahara Desert? Counterterrorism training in Africa. For the first time ever, they've allowed television cameras behind the scenes on one of their missions. We're in Niger, a West African country that is one of the poorest in the world, yet full of friendly faces.
Je m'appelle Mercedes.
Moi, je m'appelle Suleiman.
Suleiman?
Niger is aligned with Western nations, but at a huge risk.
This is Agadez, a historic town in the Sahel region of Africa, and the heart of the new terrorism spreading across the Sahara, a breeding ground for militant groups like AQIM, Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb. The threat is to the local population, as well as foreign aid workers and tourists who have been kidnapped and held for ransom. That's why just a few kilometers from here, Western militaries have gathered to teach their African allies counterterrorism techniques on Exercise Flintlock.
An annual military exercise, and this year, 18 Western and African nations invited here by the government of Niger, working, training, and living together at desert military bases like this one near Agadez. It's all been organized by the Americans. James Linder is the Special Forces General in command.
At the end of the day, whether you're in Niger or any other country, it's the host nation's problem. It's their fight. It's their effort.
You're getting in before things escalate.
We want to be here well before they escalate in hopes that they don't escalate.
He worries this entire region of Africa is at a dangerous tipping point. With kidnappings, arms smuggling, bank robberies, violent extremists are well funded and well armed. In Niger, May 2013, suicide bombers kill at least 20 people. And in neighboring Mali in 2013, Al-Qaeda tried to take over the country. Niger worries they're next. And few understand more about how these extremists operate than former Canadian diplomat Robert Fowler. This fanatic, known to Fowler as Omar 1, was one of his kidnappers, an Al-Qaeda terrorist.
He's shaking his finger. What's he saying to us?
This is to tell you that the Mujahideen, the warriors of God, are ready to do what's necessary to spread God's word.
In 2008, while on a UN mission in Niger, Fowler and fellow UN diplomat Louis Gay were abducted at gunpoint and thrown into the back of a truck.
The whole thing happened in about 40 seconds. Very slick, very professional.
They were held captive in the African desert for 130 days.
How do you get through the day in that situation where you're thinking that at any moment these people could decide to kill you?
Mm-hmm. And some of them said they would. Omar, too, would constantly say to us, you know, we would really like to be cutting you up in little bits, but unfortunately the boss won't let us.
That boss was Mokhtar Belmokhtar, a feared and elusive one-eyed terrorist, responsible for the 2013 attack on this Algerian gas plant, killing almost 40 foreign workers.
We were filthy to them. We were obscene. We were decadent Western apostates. They would get physically ill. And, I mean, in the trucks when our shoulders had to rub against their shoulders. They really hated us with a passion.
I think what you're saying would surprise a lot of Canadians. They don't think people hate Canada,
no,
but they hated you.
They really hated us. They believed we were evil. Mm-hmm.
Mokhtar is still alive, most likely still recruiting, even winning over some of our own. Two young Canadians from London, Ontario, Christos Katsouribas and Ali Medlej, died in the Algerian attack, newly converted Mujahideen.
But these groups then are actively targeting young Canadian men.
Right. It doesn't take a lot of these guys to do something horrible.
How worried should we be?
I think we should be much, much more worried than we are.
That's why CSOR's training mission here in Niger is so important. We follow along as they teach these Nigerian soldiers the basics of shooting.
Ok les gars, rapprochez-vous pour le brief. Garde la position que Jesse prend. Aucune position ici. Allez dans la position voilà. Ne rien ne change. Armée chargée. Tirez!
They share the reconnaissance and sniper skills.
You go through the basic sniper course.
26-year-old sniper Jesse gives us some insider tips.
The actual shooting is a very small part of actually being a sniper, which is unfortunate but true.
So what's the larger part that they're looking for when you're going through sniper course?
Building up your position. So putting lots of stuff between you and the target is what we call depth, and it makes it harder for the target to see you.
2-on-1!
Canada's most critical contribution to flintlock, strategy, and tactics. Jeff, a major, is the Canadian Task Force commander.
What are some of the skills that you would be teaching them?
We force them to work together to conduct things like raids or ambushes, so surprise attacks, which is a very important skill for them.
These African soldiers are learning how to plan a raid on terrorist cells. The Canadian commandos show them how a helicopter can survey and track the enemy's secret hiding spots, caches of water, fuel, and weapons in the desert. Colonel Noma is the Nigerian zone commander in Agadez.
The Canadian soldiers are very professional, very courteous, and we're very happy to be living with them here.
So we're getting the trees and everything put in through here.
And these toy soldiers? Looks like child's play, but it's serious business. Jordan is teaching the Nigerians how to plan an attack.
So the 1st Nigerian platoon, Lieutenant Jabril, comes up into the assault position. The vehicles should be moved. Vehicles are going to come up? Should be moved. Yeah. Okay.
Today, everyone is gathering to analyze the final battle plans and to put on a show. These Nigerians never fail to make a grand entrance. and the Mauritanians. These are proud professional armies with their own traditions. The Africans usually don't work together, but facing dangerous terrorists, they have no choice. And the Canadians, watching from the sidelines, will hopefully manage to keep this coalition together. The stakes are high. Robert Fowler's captors came from across Africa.
If the jihadis are uniting, sharing best practices, operating in common, and sharing intelligence, we'd better do that too. And that is what exercises like Flintlock are building, and it's very important.
Next, targeting the terrorists.
The men and women of the regiment are very strong-willed people.
And winning the gratitude of new allies.
We're humans and we're soldiers, right? And we all do the same job.
When W5 continues.
5 a.m., deep in the heart of the Sahara Desert. African and Western forces get ready for battle. Among them, the Canadian Special Operations Regiment, an elite team of covert soldiers. Their mission here? Counter-terrorism training in Al-Qaeda's newest breeding ground, Africa. They may be getting ready for a mock raid, but the threats of violent extremism faced daily by these individual soldiers are very real. When all the soldiers are geared up, they roll out. As the sun rises over the Sahara, the African armies take their positions. CSOR's commanding officer, Lieutenant Colonel Hank Celeste, is overseeing this final exercise.
You could see how the guys moved quickly. There was little talking, good communication at the team level. All that's indicative that they really have hoisted aboard the skills that we've imparted over the last couple of weeks.
But an unexpected turn of events. The radios don't work.
1-2, you're coming in broken, so just let us know when you guys got the trigger.
The problem? Radios from one country can't always connect with those from another. But this is why they train. War waits for no one. The mission must go on. They'll rely on runners for communication until finally...
This is Roadhouse 1-2. Good to have you with us.
Some of the radios are working now.
Helos inbound, on call for HR.
The helicopter flares signal the start of the raid. The objective? Take out a terrorist cache. All the armies descend and the Canadians are right there with them, analyzing their every move.
Roadhouse 1-2, Commando, if you guys can either confirm or deny that you have one of the high-value targets.
Success. They've captured the cache and eliminated the actors posing as the enemy. But the training isn't over yet.
See, he shouldn't be doing that either.
It's not his job.
No.
Not his job. That's the role of the medics. He should stay focused on his surroundings. Yet while we're teaching these African soldiers our trade secrets, how do we know they won't switch sides?
Are you concerned when you're here ever and you're training these forces that you could be fighting the same people down the road who you've trained?
Absolutely. You know, it's like in any relationship, especially at the start. A relationship, as you know, is built on trust, and you don't get that every day. So as we work and partner with different nations, especially in the initial stages of a relationship, we're always cognizant of what we're doing in terms of capacity building.
That's more than just teaching them how to shoot. Capacity building also means helping African armies care for their own people. Like at this health clinic, organized by Western Special Forces. Lieutenant Colonel Colleen Forestier, a doctor, is with CSOR in Niger too, training their army medics to improve life-saving skills.
So the casualty can come in this way, and this is our resuscitation area.
Colleen runs the mobile surgical unit and travels with the operators on their missions. Her role is critical.
Say if someone got shot through the chest, we'd be able to perform surgery on the chest area or the abdominal area if there were life-threatening injuries in there.
And here's another example of how they win over hearts and minds. Caleb. He's their logistics officer, and he's a common presence in these markets, showing the face of Canada to the local residents.
So So this is the main market in Agadez here, where we buy the majority of our produce, vegetables.
Do you ever feel that you're in any kind of danger when you're out and exposed in this way?
First and foremost, everywhere we go, we're always prepared. Their heads on a swivel. Vehicles are always parked in a way they can be driven immediately away. We always travel in partners. I don't want to say there's no danger, because obviously there are violent extremists operating in this area, but we're always prepared every time we leave home base for anything.
CSOR labels itself a high readiness unit. That means they can deploy anywhere, anytime, always on call. Hank has a wife and 2 young children back in Canada. How do they manage while he's gone on secret high-stakes missions?
The men and women of the regiment are very strong-willed people, and they tend to have spouses that are very strong-willed. Spouses, girlfriends, significant others, very strong-willed as well.
But he admits it's a real sacrifice.
From my perspective, it's very difficult, but you find ways around it, right? And I really do believe that families do adapt to some of the chaotic environments that we force them into.
Many of the team are gone for months at a time. Caleb is getting married soon, but has only seen his fiancée 2 weeks this year.
And how does she feel about you being away so much? And sometimes I'd imagine you can't tell her where you're going or what you're doing there.
Well, we have a good relationship. I mean, she understands what I do, and part of the CSOR ethos is service first. So we're very aware that we have to go where we need to go.
And for the past month, that has meant training soldiers from the world's poorest nations to fight their own wars. The exercise is over. Mission accomplished.
Wherever we go, I mean, we're still fundamentally all the same. We're humans and we're soldiers, right? And we all do the same job.
Okay, vite, faut aller travailler, les gars.
This is a first for Canada's Special Forces Regiment, opening up to W5. The Americans are used to this kind of media attention, and General James Linder thinks it's a good thing.
The Canadian people may not know as much about their SOF as we would expect. Well, I think there is a message to the Canadian people there. Learn more about it. That is a story that's well worth listening to. It's a story of competence. It's a story of pride. It's a story of men who go out there and represent your country exceptionally well. It's a story of heroes. It's a story of warriors.
What are your hopes and dreams for the future of your unit, CSOR?
I hope that we continue to deliver what the government of Canada has asked us to do. And when I say delivered, I always say that in our community, not only do we under-promise, but over-deliver. And I just hope that we keep doing that.
Now these soldiers are gearing up for their next mission. Could be on a plane or a helicopter, ready for action anywhere in the world at any time. In the words of their regiment, service first.
Most CSOR missions are classified and secret, but we can tell you that next they are headed to Malaysia and to Jordan for more counter-terrorism training. We'll be right back.
Next,
They know he's in jail.
on